that one.
Well, I'm glad this worked out for everybody. We might have a couple more join, but it's already a little after 4 Mountain Time, of course. And so we'll go ahead and get started. Today's topics, I thought we would focus on kind of taming that inner critic. And then the second topic is just the change that we all got the announcement on Monday about the Whole Life Challenge changing, which I'm not surprised, quite truthfully, that they saw the error of their ways. Was anybody on the Whole Life Challenge years back when it was 8 weeks long?
Yes.
Okay, so you remember that, right?
Yeah.
That was my first one, was 8 weeks, and then the next time they switched it to 6 weeks.
Okay, yeah. So I did a few that were 8 weeks, and then they moved it to 6, with the reason being that they got so much negative feedback that 8 weeks was too long. So when they came to this whole journey of 12 weeks thing, I was like scratching my head. I don't see how these messages mesh, but I think in fairness to them, they were really, truly, and genuinely wanting to do more for the community given the crisis of coronavirus and what everybody was going through. And so you can't fault them for that.
Right. Right.
So maybe we'll just, stick with that topic for right now, answer any questions, and just talk about how things will transition. I think it's pretty self-evident in the email that they sent out, but I was on a call with Andy and Michael and asked a few other questions. So first of all, before we get into that, what do you guys think of the change? Does it change anything for you?
No.
Not really. But I guess maybe I feel like this first 6-week period is maybe a warm up.
Yeah.
Kind of still getting my head in the game. But just with everything going on, it's been hard to focus on this in particular.
Yeah. And you've been staying at home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And where are you at, Belinda?
In Maryland.
Okay. Hi, Amy.
Hi, it worked.
It did. Welcome.
Thank you. I had to install Zoom. It was a little bit of a challenge.
Okay. Well,
but I'm in.
Stuck with it.
Yeah. So you're Rusty, right?
I am. I'm Rusty.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, we got Kathy and Sherry and Belinda.
Nice.
And we're just kind of talking about the change that was announced by Whole Life Challenge, the journey really being 2 6-week chunks or 2 challenges. Yeah. Do you think that changes anything for you, Amy?
No, I think I want to stay the way it is. For me, this long journey works for me.
Okay.
So I think oh wait, I got to turn down the sound a little. Okay, yeah. I think that for me, the long term is the best.
Okay.
So that's what I want to try.
Well, good.
So I don't know if you guys have any advice about that. Is anybody else want to do that like I want to? Or do you want to start from scratch?
No, I thought it was a great idea to do the longer one. And I had even done the little 3-week one that was before. I can't recall what they called that.
The pop-up?
The pop-up, yeah. So I did the pop-up, went right into this one, and I was like, cool. This is like what it's really supposed to be, a lifelong thing, not just 6 weeks on and 6 weeks off. It's like, this is what I do all the time. And so
yeah,
I'll be honest, I haven't done the nutrition as strict as I used to do with, I've really let that sort of, I don't know, I get 3 or 4 points, sometimes 2 points every day. But that's my life. And so, and with the intuitive eating too, that sort of changed a few of those things too. But the exercise part and the journaling part and all that is easy for me. And I don't mean to brag about that, but it's like that's sort of filtered into my life. And so I would just do this always, just taking no breaks.
And I think that's part of it too, even for me. I was one that after I went off of it, I would like binge or have the bread. Oh, the bread is my thing, you know, like crazy. So I would have that, and I was like, oh, I can have this now, you know, and then when you go back on it, then you're trying to be, you know, restricted. So that's why I love the thought behind intuitive eating. And this last time with the journey of just making your kind of your own food plan. I still use the basic guideline that I think I told you guys before. I added bread because that's one thing that I really crave. Now, since I added 1 serving of good, you know, whatever, good bread a day, I don't have it every day. I don't crave it. It's not like a restriction. I know in my head I can have it now. So it's not bad. But then if I go to have a hamburger, sometimes I have the bread with it, you know. I say I can't do it or whatever. It's just I choose not to, or I do have it, like I'm allowed it. So that focus and that change this season has really helped me. So, and that's why with the 12-week I thought, oh, this is great, because then I won't go off of it and binge, you know. I'd stay with my plan, and I'm hoping to do that, of course, for the rest of my life. So yeah, so that's really helped.
Well, and that was always the goal, I know, of Andy and Michael, is to help people make true lifestyle changes so that this just becomes your new normal, your new way of living life. And, you know, and that you see the ups and downs of it versus the you're on it, you're off it, and the maddening that happens in those in-between times where you get into that frustrated place, like, I was doing so good, what happened? And really, it's that mindset of I'm on or I'm off. So for that reason, the 12 weeks or the longer duration, and really what they had said when they changed it to the journey, was they want to have the Whole Life Challenge available year round. Ultimately, they don't have it specifically designed yet to accommodate that kind of platform or ability as far as like teams and so forth. So they're working through those kinks, but I'm all for that, so that people can really get that year-round support and see how it's not a straight line of progress. You know, it's the wonky progress.
Yeah.
I think that doing it for like a year-long challenge, I think it's great for the participants. It might be hard for the team leaders because, you know, you'd be on for the whole year as opposed to 6 weeks or 12 weeks and then having a break. But I think it's great. It would be great to do a year-long thing because that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think it also, in my opinion, it helps people not focus so much on the nutrition. I mean, there are people who sign up for the challenge and their head is just so wrapped up in the nutrition. If that doesn't go off successfully, it's as though the rest of them don't count as much. And I personally take it from the other approach. It's when you have the foundational skills of sleep and hydration and movement, that the nutrition doesn't become such a battleground. You can make greater progress and sustainable progress when you have those other things. And then that's the other reason why I brought in the intuitive eating this time around, is I thought we had a long enough period that we could truly kind of cover it. Not that anyone's expected to master it in the way that we're going through it together, but it can create a different perspective in your relationship with food.
I think it already has.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in a short time.
Well, good. Yeah. I'll be announcing the next principle this weekend, and then I was going to schedule the next Mojo chat session just for that the last principle I announced. I think on Tuesday was the most common date that people said they were available. Okay, so. But yeah, with the change, you'll just see, I did see an email today that in order for you to see the transition from the first 6 weeks to the second 6 weeks, about the only thing we need to do as participants is log out and log back in. And that'll kind of reset things. And I think they've already made those back end changes. And so, but if you've earned any like tokens, indulgence, free days, sleep tokens, those will carry with you. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then you will get 3 new mulligans. Your rainbow board, you know, to show all your points and everything, that'll restart on day 1 on May 23rd. You know, and then new people can join. So we might have some new teammates. But that could happen anytime because registration is still open.
Mm-hmm.
And then one question I had is, are the well-being practices going to start changing every week like they used to when it was a 6-week challenge? And they said, no, we're going to keep it every 2 weeks. So they had already picked out the well-being practices for the whole 12 weeks. And so they're just going to continue on with the every 2 weeks, which is, you know, kind of nice because it gives you, again, that opportunity to maybe deepen a practice.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Every 2 weeks.
And did you guys see the new one starting on Saturday? That's my jam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fun one.
The Zoom thing froze up on me for a second there. Did you say all the weekly things are going to be 2 weeks still?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed the prompts for the journal part. That's been kind of fun.
Yeah, that's totally new.
Yeah, I like that. I heard I was on a Zoom with Andy and Michael, and they were asking if we had any to send them to them. They had like 100 and some already made up and ready to go, but if people thought of ones that they thought would be good, to just email it to them.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're so sort of random sometimes. I think yesterday's was what you have for lunch yesterday or something. I'm like, oh, I got to think about that for a minute. I can't remember.
I know. And yes, that was funny because yesterday I'm like, well, I think I had a handful of nuts. I mean, it's not what I normally have, but that's what I had yesterday. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, with me on those prompts too, it helps me not write about nutrition. Like, you know, oh, I scored down again, or I had this, but then I go, okay, let's look at the prompt and see what that says. I'll answer that instead, you know, because I want it to be more positive than the negative, or, you know, what I missed out on, or, you know, so I like it. I love them. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's not the confession zone that it might have turned into sometimes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, lots of good enhancements. I love what Michael and Andy are doing. There's been some good feedback about doing the workouts with Andy or the meditations. So if you're in the main Facebook group, or they send out the links and so forth. So lots of things to kind of touch most everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I should actually check the main Facebook group more. I've noticed that I've missed out on some things because I turned off the Whole Life Challenge notifications to my email.
Yeah.
So I only get coach notifications and all of your notifications I would get, because I get, you know, the email whenever somebody comments on our teams. But yeah, I turned off the Whole Life Challenge emails because they were stressing me out the last time I did it. I was feeling really like inadequate. So I should sign up for the Facebook group.
Well, do whatever works for you, because I'm kind of the believer that whatever you're signed up for and you learn about, that's what you were meant to know about, and the rest of it, there's just too much to keep up.
Well, I'm definitely on your team Facebook. So, and I really appreciate all the work you put into it. So thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. I'm bad about being in the Whole Life Challenge, the official Facebook page. I don't go there very often, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to talk about taming the inner critic if we don't have any other questions about the transition part?
Oh God, I could use help with the taming the inner critic.
Yeah.
I don't imagine I'm alone there.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah. Who has a critic? Yeah, right. And I think we could all agree that if we said the things out loud that we say inside our heads, the horror that our friends and family and other people would look at us. But we'd also get those looks of, wow, you too? You say that stuff? You look like you've got it all together. You look, why would you say those mean things to yourself? You're such a happy, pleasant disposition, right? But we all know that what goes on in that inner thought life isn't projected necessarily outwardly. Even when we're angry or upset, you know, we tend to be able to be more compassionate, more empathetic, more caring, more careful with our words when we're talking to other people. And there's a lot of reasons why the inner critic gets so gnarly and feisty. You know, we're all conditioned over life experiences, and we have, you know, plenty of people that modeled certain behaviors, and those got ingrained and conditioned and so forth. And then we're taught a whole bunch of things like, well, you know, that being hard on yourself propels you to success, and, you know, you're going to do better if you do that. But also just what brain scientists talk about is we just have a natural negativity bias. And we all see that in our days when we think about, you know, we've got this to do. We're a mom, we're a wife, we're, you know, whatever we are in our jobs, we volunteer, we do all these things all day long, lots and lots of good things. And then we really flub up on something. And what are we thinking about when our head hits the pillow at night? That one thing that we did badly. Right?
And then I might wake up in the night still thinking about it.
Yeah. You know, and it's just like, wow. And so I'm going to post a TED Talk because these aren't my original ideas. But there's a gentleman that's written a few books, and he did a TED Talk, and I loved how he explained how negativity bias is something that we can overcome. And it directly impacts that inner voice that we have in our head. And so he has an acronym for it. But at the end of the day, what he says is, think of the times when you do mess up. You do something that's out of your character or not in alignment with what you say you value or prioritize. And you are just ruminating, you're stewing, you're calling yourself all sorts of names. I mean, you really stick with it, right? And you feel it passionately. I mean, the intensity of the emotions is just like you're reliving it. Now, think about those same times where you do something really wonderful. I mean, you prepared for something. Maybe you had to give a speech at work, or you had to, you know, help your kid with some kind of project, and it just went beautifully. How much time do you sit there and think about and relive the moments, the preparation, the interaction, the feelings you had while you were experiencing that? We kind of just move on to the next thing. And so that's what he's talking about, is if we can become willing to retrain our brain and rewire our brain. And we do that by staying with it longer. You know, staying with those experiences. You've heard people talk about being able to sit with your emotions. And usually they talk about it in the negative way, like so that it can, you know, digest and move on and move through you. But I'm talking about when you have those positive experiences, can you sit with it and really let it sink in? Does anybody do that?
I don't think so.
Right? And nowhere to the degree that we do when we ruminate on the bad stuff. I mean, we know what we're talking about when we say ruminate and overthink on the bad stuff. But can you parlay that to being on the good stuff? And that's basically what his TED Talk is talking about. And so I'll send that out. It's not very long. It's like 13 minutes. And he has that special acronym. He calls it HEAL, HEAL. So he says you have a good experience. That's the H. And then you enrich the experience by letting it last, letting it simmer, feel the emotions. And then you absorb it. So the way he described it was like you sense the intent, like it's sinking in at a cellular level and it's imprinting on your brain that this was something really good. And then the last one is, and it's interesting, you link your positive experience to a negative experience. In the way to say that it soothes or comforts or eases and replaces that negative experience, to say, like you say, I'm not a creative person. I suck at creativity, whatever it is. And then you do something creative and you get feedback and somebody's just like, wow, that was such an original idea. Thank you for sharing that. You can take that experience and you can think to yourself and just like, God, that felt so good. And it just came to me. And I do have creativity within me and I have a lot to offer. And then you link that to maybe the times where you felt stuck or silly or you didn't have anything to offer. And it's just like, no, that was, a singular time, but I know I have creativity within me. And that's just like one example, but we can do that in every area of our life. Any of the 7 habits that we're working on in the Whole Life Challenge, but also at those, what I think moves the needle even more are at the character traits that we get frustrated with ourselves with, or things that we attach morality to, like I'm a good person, I'm a bad person. Those are the most damaging, in my opinion. And so some of the other things that maybe, any of us who've gone through personal development, or maybe you've had courses at work that talk about personality types and then how to, think to the positive or whatever. There's so many good strategies that are so simple to do that I think too often we dismiss them. We're like, yeah. Oh yeah, just think positive. It's like, well, no, not just think positive, but it's that practicing, the pause of awareness, becoming familiar with the thought loops that you have. We all have themes, and they do attach to maybe a character trait that we don't like about ourselves, or something that we say is a priority, but we don't make time for or don't put effort towards. And then we just say those negative things to ourselves. So it's becoming aware of the themes in your life. And then once you're aware of those, then you can actually put it into practice and put it into an exercise. Like the prompts that we have for the Whole Life Challenge. But if you became aware of the themes, the running themes in your head, and you wrote that down and you said, why do I continue to think this? And what I like to do with questions like that is I give an answer and then say, tell me more. And ask the tell me mores and why. Why do I think that? But again, this is one of those simple exercises that most people actually don't do. They hear it and they're like, yeah, that's a good idea. I think, yeah, that might work. I could see how that could work. And then we get on with our busy lives. And then we wonder why we have this perpetual inner critic. And so I'll shut up in just a second. Because I want to hear from you guys, like real life examples or things that you've done to retrain your brain in certain other areas in your inner critic. But it's also asking yourselves things like, can I see this through another lens? You know, we have that friend that we know who maybe has the glass half full sort of perspective on things. And you think, well, what would my friend Jim think about this? You know, that's helpful to like see it through a different perspective. Or I really like this one, and I actually read it in like a relationship book on communication, but it's just stuck with me because I can use it for myself, is to say, examine the evidence. So we're beating ourselves up about something, and we're usually making a lot of assumptions that go along with it. But if you say examine the evidence and you frame it in the way of what can be caught on film. Okay, so say I'm a lazy, no good for nothing, right? Okay, well, what's the evidence? What if there was a camera in your house, what tangible evidence that was caught on film would demonstrate you're a lazy, no good for nothing? Sitting there watching TV doesn't make you a lazy, no good for nothing, right? But you have all these beliefs and stories and things that you say around that story. But if it was your loved one or your friend, would you have the same criticism? Oh, you're relaxing. Oh, you're having a good time. Look at you. You're laughing at that. You know, you're watching your favorite show. Like we'd have all these like nice things, that nurturing voice that's in our head. And it's these kinds of exercises that once we explore them, that's when you can reframe them with the nurturing, positive voice that we all possess because we demonstrate it all day long with people we love and care about. So we have it in us. We know it's there. We just got to turn it inward to ourselves. So with that, like, tell me an example of maybe something that you're struggling with an inner critic thought pattern, or maybe you used to have one and you were able to shift it. What did you do? I know I'm putting you guys on the spot.
I know for myself, I'm very critical of myself, but I can catch myself and think, you know, why are you saying that to yourself? You would never say that to your best friend. You know, what would you say to somebody else? And then try to say it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's kind of being aware, but usually it's during the process of, you know, why did I say that? Why did I eat that? Whatever it might be, and kind of starting to beat myself up and then thinking, I would never say this to my best friend. Why am I saying it to myself? And
right.
Trying to stop it.
In that moment, do you say, what would I say to my best friend if I heard her say that to herself?
Sometimes I do think that, and then, you know, I try to be gentler with myself. My dog is right here. I guess you guys can't see her. She's like wanting to be part of the conversation, I guess.
Oh, that's good. Love fur babies.
So I think that a lot, that, you know, I would never say that to somebody else. And sometimes when I'm reading through posts on our feed, I think that too, like, we're also hard on ourselves. We miss the nutrition, or we don't exercise, or whatever it might be. It's okay. It's just one day, you know.
Yeah. Well, and it's
So
then asking questions like, how is that helpful?
Yes.
So Belinda was reminding me of when I was about 30, I guess, I remember walking with my best friend, and I was criticizing myself about something, like I was too fat, or I was too something, I was going to fail a test or whatever. And she turned to me and she like got this really angry look, and she said, "No one talks to my best friend like that." I found that so helpful, because she said that. And so I always, whenever I'm being hard on myself, I think about that. Nobody talks to my best friend like that, or nobody talks about Patty's, my best friend's best friend, like that. If I can't do it to myself, then I think about her. Like, I can't talk to myself that way, because she knew about it. And it's like, you know, 30,
that's a great
30 years
story.
ago.
Well, and have you ever thought, because I've had that exact same thought of why could I talk to myself like this? And I mean, I would have no friends whatsoever, no family. And then it dawns on me, well, I can continue to talk to myself like that, because wherever I go, there I am. I can't leave myself.
Right.
So there is a difference. Of course, we don't talk to other people like that. They would shun us. They would say, "You're a horrible person. Stay away from me."
Right.
But we have to keep bringing our body with our mind. So, you know, so having a sense of humor, you know, I've learned over the years, I try to have more of a sense of humor with myself. And I personally have learned that through my meditation practice, because of the meditation teachers that I follow, that, you know, they're just like, you know, have this idea of equanimity, and it's a friendliness towards yourself. You know, some people who meditate, they get frustrated because they can't stay concentrated or focused on the breath or whatever they're doing. And, you know, the teachers that I follow, they're just like, you know, have a playfulness about it. Like, oh, there I go again. Look at me down that rabbit hole. Okay, come on back, Rusty. You know, and honestly, I can do it. And I can feel myself smile when I get lost. And I come back. Okay, I'm back. So it's having supportive practices that also remind you of that, even if you can't see the connection of the dots, because journaling and writing stuff out isn't for everybody. So there's an exploration of finding what works for you to bring that awareness of your inner critic, and then a willingness to, okay, I need to take action to make changes. Anyone else? What about difficult emotions? When you're upset about something and you have that inner critic that says, well, that's stupid. Why are you even upset about that? You're being, you know, and especially for females, you're being too emotional about that. Get over it. You know, let it go. Do you guys have that voice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law has helped me with that when I've come to her and said, I just don't know why I'm feeling like this, and I feel like I need to get over it. Mm-hmm. She's like, feel your feelings, girl. Don't suppress them. Let yourself feel that way, and then try to go past it. But, you know, it's okay to have those feelings, and the more you suppress it, the harder it is on your guts, I think, you know, and, you know, your emotions and everything else, because you just start feeling like a failure all the time. But if you can just feel it and dwell on it for a while and get past it, I feel like you have some hints for that.
You know, yeah, some of the things that I've learned is, like you said, the first thing to do is allow it and not try to make sense of it. You know, it's just more of just, because that is when it will digest through you and be able to move on. It's the, I don't want to feel this way. This is stupid for feeling this way. Yeah. I'm tired of feeling this way. It's the resistance that we give to that emotion versus, and the way that I picture it, and the way that I was taught is, imagine if it was a young toddler coming to you going, mom, 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 mom. You know, I need you. And I kept, yeah, go away, go away, go away. until you actually turn towards the toddler, say, and give full attention and allow those feelings, then you don't have to even make sense of it. You just have to attend to it. And then you can move on. So I think that's the other piece to it, is I try not to need to have an answer to everything that I'm feeling. Feelings just come and they go. They're like the clouds in the sky. They come, they go, they move on, they'll come back, and I don't always need to know why. To me, that's a little more freeing. I mean, if it lasts and lasts and lasts, well, sure. Yeah. But sometimes we get so latched on right away and catastrophize and then we resist, and then that's when it just stays stuck, and it could become the way we start to perceive ourselves and the world around us. So your daughter-in-law is very wise. Feel your feelings. I'm gonna remember that. And I think the other thing too is I certainly was taught to suppress certain emotions because that's not ladylike, or that's not allowed, or you're being too aggressive, and that scares people, and those sorts of things. So whatever those conditionings were, I read this really great book and saw this speaker who talked about it, and it's like a 30-day book. And so it's 30 different emotions, and you just sit with that one emotion. But what the basic premise is all emotions are valid. They all have worth. They all make you who you are and allow you to live life to the fullest. And so if you can appreciate all the good and bad feelings, that makes your life that much more rich. Instead of I'm a bad person when I feel this way, I'm a good person when I feel that way. They just become neutral. They're information.
More of mine are not that I'm good or bad, but that I'm a baby or a wimp, or I can't handle it. That's that's the funk I get into.
And that probably came somewhere in your growing up, and your upbringing was taught to, take the reins, suck it up. It's not that bad. Somebody else has it worse off, just move on. Yeah. I mean, I was taught similar things, and, but you can take it too far. Yeah. I tell my husband, I'm like, yes, I'm a strong, very opinionated person, and I let you know what I think, but I'm also a delicate flower. I have those tender, soft spots, and so he just he freaks out. He's like, I don't know if I should hug you or if you're going to push me away. I don't know. I don't know either.
It's like Sybil in the movie. I don't know which one you're going to get.
Right. But I think if we cannot, that's that inner critic. Don't judge ourselves so much for the feeling, but just get curious about it with a friendliness. I wonder why I fall into that. And it usually is rooted in some form of fear. I'm going to be criticized. I'm going to be judged by others. I'm going to be, somebody's going to leave me if I speak my mind. So it's always rooted in fear, in my opinion. Have you guys worked with any kind of inner critic sorts of exercises or tangible things where you've intentionally tried to, as that one TED Talk guy was talking about, rewiring your brain?
Not really.
No?
I think with me, one of the things that I can relate to is I am a emotional eater. And so with that, before a whole life challenge, whenever I would be on an eating program, whatever, and then once I blow it, okay, I just blew it again. And it takes me a while to get back on track. Like, I mean, I got journal entries after journal entries of, here I am again, I'm starting this again, I'm doing this again. Yeah. So I think what has helped me through Whole Life Challenge is, once, like, if I blow it at a meal, I blow it, you know, and I need to just let that pass, you know, maybe kind of think about it, like, what put me down that path? Was it an emotion that I had, or is it, you know, was it just a party, you know, that I wanted to partake in? I don't know, you know. So I kind of like refocus it, and then I'm able to, the next time that I need to eat, I'm like, okay, I'm just, because I blew it doesn't mean I can still go down that healthy path and try to retrain my brain with that. So that's probably one of the things that I probably have changed and improved with, but I'm still not there, I'll tell you. My journal still said, I'm still there, I'm still doing this.
Yeah, because it trains us to have confidence in ourselves. That, you know, one being off track for one meal or 1 week doesn't mean you have to throw in the towel. It's just, okay, there's something useful about this experience that I can learn from, but just let's pick up and begin again. You know? Yeah. No, that's great. And I was working with a client earlier this week, and she was disappointed in herself because she had a craving, and with the stay-at-home orders right now, you know, she's only going to the grocery store like every 2 weeks. And after the fact, she could see what was happening, but she was in that place of like scarcity and lack. Like, I won't be back for 2 more weeks. And so, you know, she picked out something in the ice cream aisle and the Pop-Tarts and, you know, something else. And then she was really upset with herself. And it's just like, okay, but you were a witness to it. You can see, you know, why that came about. And these are temporary times. You know, don't make too much of this. Like, don't seal that in your brain that now somehow you can't trust yourself when you go to the grocery store. You know, these are isolated incidences. And in, you know, in my coaching certification, my teacher would always say, the dose makes the poison. So the fact that you had a little of this, or you went down the wrong path a little ways here, so what? You know, it's a little dose, you know, in the totality of it. Just get back on track, you know, begin again, and use it as a lesson. So yeah, there's lots of different things, and I'll post that TED Talk. There's a couple other really good articles that I'll continue to filter into my coaches posts that I send out to you guys. But maybe use some of that. Just start with that curiosity of, what are the themes of the inner critic that I have? And maybe the 1 or 2 that cause you the most suffering. And by suffering, I mean that it happens most frequently, you stick with it longer, you know, it's the more vicious voice, and just something, you know, you're kind of tired of. You're really tired of beating yourself up like that. And
so I was just going to share my my most scary inner critic thing is when I'm trying to, yeah, it's a really scary one. When I'm going to sleep and I'm trying, if I feel like I've done everything I should that day and I feel really good about myself, and I listen to my meditation tape, or one of those boring stories I like to listen to when I'm falling asleep. And then all of a sudden it's like a knife in my heart, like this feeling of terror. And that keeps me awake sometimes. So I have to, you know, start all over again and try. And sometimes I have studied a little bit about the inner critic, and I just know it's like some kind of terror, and I have no idea what it comes from, but I hate it. So, and it's usually, maybe it's like some thought that I already know is stupid, like, you know, I didn't say hi to somebody, or I waved to a person and they weren't really waving to me, or whatever kind of stupid thing can happen.
Yeah.
but that could trigger it, but maybe it's nothing triggers it. It's just like complete terror. And then so I have trouble sleeping sometimes. So I have been trying to listen to like really boring stories or something like that to take my mind out of myself. But that's it. That's my terror.
Yeah, but it's probably, it can be frustrating if you're seeking an answer. Like, why do I feel this way? Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mostly just want to try to train myself to stop it, like stop it. And it does really help with the meditation podcasts or I forgot the name of this one I've been listening to. Oh, stories, something like Where Nothing Much Happens. It's a really good one. So it's a woman's voice, and she leads you through a little breathing exercise, and then she starts telling you some story and nothing much happens. And I usually fall asleep before the end of it. So that's good. And it's calming, it's not anything, not anything exciting and not so boring that it's annoying.
Gotcha. Oh, how interesting. I hadn't heard of that one yet.
Yeah. I think it's just called Nothing Much Happens. It's a podcast.
Sounds kind of like a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
If you guys were Seinfeld fans.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate that terror thing, that feeling. It's really like, like right in my heart. It's like panic. And it never happens in the day, just at night.
Well, I'm glad you have those breathing exercises. Because, because that really is, physiologically, that is a way to, train your body that, no, I'm fine. There isn't any danger. I can, so we have the physical capability of actually turning that dial down. Well, thank you guys for joining today. So nice to get together with all of you. And like I said, I'm going to post the next Zoom call. We're going to talk about intuitive eating on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. I believe that was the most widely available date of those that were interested. So, so if that's something you're interested in, we're going to go further into, I think it's principle 3. I'd have to look back. But it'll be intuitive eating, whichever is the next principle that we're on. Okay.
Thank you.
I hope you guys have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks for all the stuff you
Bye.
do.
Nice meeting you all. Bye.
Oh, you're welcome, Sherry.
All right. You just do so much over and above, I feel like, and that's pretty amazing.
Definitely. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for the thank you. I enjoy it. It's a win-win, trust me.
Thank you for sure. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.